Weeks had passed since Captain Elias Ward had chosen Princess Lyrae as his reward. The people of Erythra had slowly begun to accept their unusual pairing, though whispers of curiosity and skepticism still floated through the crystal halls. Yet Elias and Lyrae were unconcerned with gossip. They focused instead on learning from one another, growing in understanding and preparing for the responsibilities that awaited them both. Lyrae had become more confident in her role. Each day she walked among the people of Erythra, listening to their concerns, learning their customs, and understanding their culture. Elias, patient and ever observant, guided her without imposing. He taught her the principles of human diplomacy, empathy, strategy, and the quiet courage to act even when unsure. One morning, as Erythra's twin suns rose, casting silver light across the crystal towers, a message arrived at the palace. It was from the outer colonies, small settlements that had long been neglected during the war. They reported instability in the energy fields that powered their towns. If left unchecked, the colonies would face shortages of water, light, and essential supplies. The council convened immediately. Princess Lyrae, seated beside Elias, observed the discussions carefully. Engineers and scientists argued over the best approach, but tension rose as no one could agree. Panic was a subtle undercurrent in the room. Elias turned to her and whispered, "You've learned much about leadership, Lyrae. Listen closely, then speak your mind. Strength is often in clarity and calm, not force." For a moment she hesitated. Her body was frail and fear whispered that she might fail. But then she remembered Elias's words. Strength was not measured in muscle or energy, but in resolve and action. "Perhaps," she began softly, "we should consider the colony's perspective. They need guidance that is practical and immediate. Let us assign teams to stabilize the energy fields and ensure communication lines remain open. Then we can send instructors to teach them to maintain their systems, rather than imposing solutions from here." A murmur ran through the room. It was simple advice, but it brought clarity. The council approved her suggestion, and soon teams of engineers and volunteers were dispatched. Lyrae's calm insight had prevented chaos, proving once again that power is not always what it seems. Days later, while overseeing the stabilization of one colony, Lyrae noticed subtle irregularities in the energy flows, something even the engineers had overlooked. Her eyes, faintly glowing, traced the patterns with patience. She realized that the fluctuations were caused not by natural problems, but by hidden energy distortions, leftover remnants from the war's weaponry. She reported her findings to Elias. "The colony's systems will hold for now," she said. "But unless we remove these distortions, they could grow worse. We need a long-term solution." Elias studied the data with careful consideration. "You're right," he said. "And you're the one who noticed it. You see patterns others cannot. That is true strength." Together, they devised a plan to gently redirect the distorted energies using controlled energy fields, without harming anyone or destabilizing the colonies. Lyrae's frail frame concealed the sharp intelligence and perceptive abilities that were now becoming evident. As the weeks passed, Lyrae continued to grow. She learned to use Erythra's unique energy not for combat, but for healing and stabilization. Her presence had a calming effect on both humans and aliens, often resolving conflicts simply by her patient listening and reasoned words. Word of her quiet influence spread across the planet, and people began to call her the Heart of Erythra. One evening, as Lyrae and Elias walked through the palace gardens, Lyrae paused. The twin suns were low in the sky, painting the crystalline landscape in shades of gold and silver. She looked up at Elias, a question on her mind. "Captain, why did you choose me, truly?" she asked. Elias smiled faintly. "I have seen many who shine with obvious power, and many who command attention through fear or might. But I chose you because you have the kind of strength that lasts. Strength that inspires, heals, and builds. The galaxy has too many warriors who fight with weapons and too few who fight with their hearts." Lyrae felt warmth fill her chest. For the first time, she understood the depth of Elias's choice. It was not about reward or ceremony, but about seeing value where others could not. Their calm was soon interrupted by an urgent message. A distant colony, farther than any had expected, was reporting an extreme energy surge. A surge that threatened not just their systems, but potentially the planet itself. The council feared a chain reaction that could destabilize Erythra's core. Panic swept the chambers. Elias immediately turned to Lyrae. "This is beyond ordinary engineering, but I believe in your judgment. You may be the key to solving this." Fear flickered across Lyrae's face. She had never faced something of this magnitude, but she remembered Elias's lessons. Courage is acting despite fear. And more importantly, she realized that this was not about her alone. It was about protecting countless lives. At the edge of the affected colony, Lyrae approached the core energy reactor. The air shimmered violently as unstable currents surged around her. Engineers tried to intervene, but the energy was beyond their control. Lyrae stepped forward, heart steadying with each breath. Elias stayed close, guiding her with calm instructions. "Focus on balance," he said. "Not control, not power, balance. Listen to the energy, not force it." For the first time, Lyrae allowed herself to feel the energy as a living thing. It was not just a force to manipulate, but a current to understand. Slowly, her hands glowed with soft silver light. She reached out not to dominate the surge, but to harmonize with it. The unstable energy trembled around her, and then, almost imperceptibly, it began to calm. Lyrae's heart raced, but she did not falter. Elias's presence was steady at her side, guiding, supporting, reminding her that courage is strengthened when shared. Minutes passed, though they felt like hours. Then, with a final deep breath, Lyrae aligned herself fully with the energy currents. The surge stabilized, flowing gently once more, and the colony systems returned to normal. The engineers watched in disbelief. A frail princess, long underestimated, had prevented a disaster that even the strongest minds could not resolve. When they returned to the palace, news of her achievement had already spread. The council, once skeptical, now bowed with respect. Citizens whispered of the human soldier who had chosen wisely, and the princess who had proven her strength. Elias met Lyrae in the grand hall. She looked exhausted but radiant. "You did it," he said quietly. "You saw the strength within yourself before anyone else could." Lyrae smiled, feeling the weight of her journey but also the confidence she had gained. She realized that frailty was not weakness. Her compassion, patience, and insight, qualities long overlooked, were her true power. The council formally recognized her contributions, bestowing upon her the title Heart of Erythra. But for Lyrae, the greatest recognition was the respect and trust she had earned, not through displays of might, but through courage, empathy, and quiet determination. As the twin suns set over Erythra, Elias and Lyrae walked together along the crystal pathways. The citizens waved, and the light of the city reflected their admiration. Lyrae felt a profound sense of purpose. She knew that challenges would continue, and the galaxy still held dangers and uncertainties. But she also knew that with courage, wisdom, and allies like Elias, even the most impossible tasks could be met. Elias glanced at her, his gaze full of quiet pride. "I told you," he said softly, "strength is not always in what you can lift or wield. Sometimes it is in what you can protect, guide, and inspire." Lyrae nodded. She had learned that lesson deeply. And she understood more than ever why he had chosen her. Not because she was perfect, but because she had the potential to change the galaxy in ways no one else could. The stars above Erythra twinkled, reflecting hope and possibility. And together, human and princess, soldier and heart of Erythra, began the next chapter of their journey, one that would see courage, wisdom, and compassion shine across the stars, proving that humanity's greatest power is in believing in the unseen strength of others. The war had ended, but its echoes still lingered in every corner of the galaxy. Captain Elias Ward, a human soldier known across star systems for his courage, stepped onto the glittering surface of Erythra, the jewel planet of the Kraylan Dominion. His armor, scratched and scorched from battles that had lasted years, gleamed faintly in the light of Erythra's twin suns. Around him, alien delegates and humans alike filled the grand ceremonial plaza, their eyes reflecting awe and curiosity. The battle that had just concluded on Cyrene Ridge was the defining moment of this conflict. Elias had led a small human strike team against overwhelming odds, not for glory or conquest, but to save civilians, both human and alien. That act of mercy had earned him the respect of the Kraylan, an alien species that valued strength above all. Now the Supreme Council of Erythra was gathered to honor the heroes of the war. A vast hall of crystal towers and floating platforms stretched across the sky, shimmering with the energy that powered the planet. At its center, a stage rose high above the audience, and there Elias was called forward. "Captain Elias Ward," intoned the council's spokesperson, their voice echoing through the hall like a song of light. "You have shown courage, intelligence, and compassion in equal measure. You may select your reward." A murmur ran through the audience. The human could choose anything: technology, land, political favor, or even a seat on the High Council of Erythra. But when the velvet curtains parted to reveal the Krailin princesses, everyone's attention shifted to the most obvious choices. Some were radiant, their forms tall and graceful, their energy radiating from them in visible waves that rippled through the air. Others had trained all their lives to wield the power of Erythra's core energy, and their presence alone could intimidate even the bravest warriors. And then there was Princess Lyrae. She stood slightly apart, her pale silver skin almost blending with the crystal floors. Her frame was small and fragile, and she did not radiate power or command attention. Her eyes, faintly glowing with a soft light, were filled with quiet curiosity as she observed the human soldier. While others seemed to shine with arrogance or confidence, she carried no expectation, only a gentle presence. Elias's eyes fell upon her. He walked toward the line of princesses with steady steps, the crowd falling silent as curiosity and shock filled the hall. When he stopped before Lyrae, he extended his hand politely. "I choose her," he said simply. A gasp rose through the hall. The council members exchanged worried glances. "Captain," said the Krailin king, his voice echoing with authority, "surely you understand what you are choosing. Princess Lyrae is delicate. She is frail, incapable of wielding our energy powers, and not trained for diplomacy or leadership. She is, by all accounts, the weakest of our royal heirs." Elias's expression did not waver. "I understand," he replied, "and that is exactly why I have chosen her." The audience fell silent, whispering among themselves. Why would a human, a war hero celebrated for strength, choose someone so seemingly powerless? Some suspected pity. Others whispered that war had made him strange. Yet Elias's calm gaze never left Lyrae, whose eyes widened slightly at the attention. Why me?" she asked, her voice soft, yet carrying an underlying curiosity. "You have survived when the universe told you that you could not," Elias replied. "Strength is not always about power or dominance. Sometimes it is about endurance, courage, and quiet resolve. You embody that." Lyrae felt a warmth rise inside her, a feeling unfamiliar and comforting. For the first time, someone had looked at her and seen her worth beyond physical strength or public expectation. She realized that the human did not see her as fragile. He saw her as someone capable, someone who mattered. That evening, after the formal ceremony, Elias accompanied Lyrae through the city's streets. Crystal towers glowed softly, and the air shimmered with Erythra's unique energy. Citizens looked upon the two figures with curiosity and intrigue, wondering why the hero of humanity had chosen the frail princess. "Captain," Lyrae said quietly, walking beside him, "why not choose someone stronger, someone more impressive?" Elias smiled faintly. "Power is easy to see. It demands attention. But true strength is quieter. It lives in patience, in resilience, in the ability to inspire and heal. You have that, even if the world does not yet recognize it." For hours they walked in silence, observing the city's wonders. Lyrae began to feel something shift within her. A spark of confidence long buried beneath self-doubt started to glow. She realized that perhaps she could be more than what others had told her she was. Days passed, and Elias remained on Erythra. Not as a conqueror or diplomat, but as a companion and teacher. He did not treat Lyrae as a fragile being to be shielded. Instead, he involved her in the tasks of governance, diplomacy, and learning about human strategy. She observed his careful decisions, the patience he showed to all creatures, and the courage he displayed not in battle alone, but in everyday choices. Through their time together, Lyrae discovered the subtle strength in human resilience, the way humans continued to hope and act even in the face of despair. And Elias, in turn, saw in Lyrae a wisdom that was not born from combat or physical power, but from empathy and insight. One day the council summoned them both. A delicate issue had arisen on the outskirts of Erythra, where minor conflicts between houses threatened to escalate. Elias and Lyrae were asked to mediate. As they entered the council chamber, Lyrae felt nervous. She had never been trained in the art of negotiation or political discourse. Elias noticed her apprehension and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "Strength is not always in speaking loudly or demanding attention," he whispered. "It is in listening, understanding, and guiding others toward what is right. You already have that within you." Lyrae took a deep breath and stepped forward. The meeting began, and she spoke with calm clarity, listening patiently to each voice, acknowledging fears and concerns. She offered solutions that balanced fairness with wisdom, and slowly the tension in the room eased. By the end of the session, the council members who had once doubted her looked at her with newfound respect. Elias observed quietly, a faint smile on his face. Lyrae had begun to understand what he had seen all along. Strength could be quiet, subtle, and transformative. Even at night in the soft glow of the city's energy fields, Lyrae found herself thinking about Elias's words. She realized that her frailty did not define her. Her compassion, her ability to see the world differently, and her persistence, those were her true strengths. As the days turned into weeks, Elias and Lyrae grew closer, not in the romantic sense, but as equals. They challenged each other, learned from each other, and supported one another. The citizens of Erythra began to notice this bond, seeing in it a symbol of hope, that unity between species could achieve what power alone could not. One afternoon, while exploring the outer gardens of the royal palace, Lyrae paused by a fountain, watching the water shimmer in the sunlight. Elias joined her silently. "You know," he said, "many warriors choose rewards for power or glory. But the universe is not shaped by power alone. It is shaped by those who believe in what others cannot yet see. That is why I chose you." Lyrae looked at him, a soft smile forming. She realized that she was no longer just the frail princess. She was someone who mattered, someone whose choices could influence the world, someone who could inspire others quietly but profoundly. From that moment, Lyrae's journey truly began. The galaxy had seen her as weak, but Elias had chosen to see her differently. And as she walked beside him, she felt the first stirrings of confidence, courage, and a quiet, unyielding strength. Little did she know that this journey, one that had begun with a simple choice, would soon test not her body, but her heart, mind, and spirit in ways she had never imagined. And little did Elias know, the frail princess he had chosen as a reward would soon reveal a hidden power, not of might but of light, compassion, and resilience, that could change the fate of the galaxy forever. The stars above Erythra sparkled, brighter that night, as if they too were watching, waiting, and believing in what was yet to come.